Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Living Large Las Vegas. I am your host, Kobe Sherlock, and today in the lab, Mr. Derek Parent. Derek, say hello to everybody.
Hello, hello.
Guys, today we are bringing you a very special guest, a good friend of ours, and somebody that is helping attack some of the most important issues in our community and playing a huge role. Today we have Mr. Doug Geinzer, who is our CEO of Heals, and we're going to talk a little bit about Heals today. Doug, why don't you say hello to the listeners?
Cool. Thanks for having me on the show, guys. Appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Well, just to dive in, just so the audience knows a little bit about you, Doug, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up here?
So first and foremost, I'm probably not a healthcare guy by trade. Born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, moved to Las Vegas 26 years ago, raising a family here, and committed to improving the quality of healthcare in Southern Nevada.
That's awesome. Something that we discussed before on the show is our involvement in the community, some of the service that we do in partnerships, and you could see it here at Las Vegas Heals. What is Las Vegas Heals, and what are we up to?
So first and foremost, HEALS is an acronym for Health, Education, Advocacy, and Leadership of Southern Nevada. So I don't want to dumbify it, but we're almost like a chamber of commerce for the healthcare community. So we bring together the community each and every day to improve the quality of health in Southern Nevada as our overriding mission. So it's a group of volunteers. It's industry facing. So it's all of the healthcare provider base, the hospitals, the medical education systems, the post-acute, subacute, rehab facilities, hospice, everything from birth to death and everything in between, all on one mission. How do we improve the quality of health in Southern Nevada? And we've got to acknowledge that we have some challenges, but at the end of the day, if you look at where we are today and where we're heading, Las Vegas is an amazing place, and healthcare is improving every single day.
I mean, Derek, we talked about this too, is quality of healthcare. And for you, Doug, why would you say it's important to have a great quality of healthcare here in our community?
Well, so, we started after September 11th, and when that day happened, it devastated Las Vegas. Like literally, I went down on Las Vegas Boulevard and you could shoot a gun right up the middle of the strip and not hit a soul. And so a lot of us got together and we started the conversation about how do we diversify the economy in Las Vegas. We're so dependent on gaming and that hurt. And so we said, how do we bring in other industry? And a real conversation came about. And we said, well, we really need to look at our healthcare challenges and our education challenges. Yeah. And healthcare is a big deal when you're running a business, growing a business, expanding a business, or relocating a business. Your employees want to know, am I going to be taken care of if I get sick? Are my kids going to have a good education in Las Vegas? And so we tackled the challenge of healthcare. And initially, we didn't know what it was going to look like. We got a group of about 12 of us at the table. We said, how do we improve healthcare in Las Vegas? And everybody looked around and said, we don't know until we get started. And so we set up what we called a three-legged stool. One arm focuses on legislative matters, one arm focuses on workforce matters, and the other one was strategic alliances. And what we learned was the healthcare community, everybody was in a silo. People just didn't know what everybody was doing down the street. And so that's what our Strategic Alliance Task Force set out to change. Hey, you guys are looking for physical therapists. Did you know that there's a physical therapy school in town that's training them? Hey, you have a lab and you've got vacancies. Do you know these folks down the street are looking for a lab to do clinical research? And so we started forming these partnerships and alliances, people that didn't know one another. And then the task force that I got initially involved with was the Workforce Task Force. So if you look at our healthcare challenges that are here in town, it's not that we have bad practitioners. We have some of the world-class doctors practicing right here. It's a lack of access. So how, when you get sick, when you need to see a healthcare provider, it's an access issue. And so what we discovered was our workforce infrastructure was built to treat a town of, back then, maybe 1.1 million people. And here we are today facing 2.2 million. So when you have a workforce that's just not large enough, you have to wait in line. And so we said, how do we fix that? So a lot of our initiatives have been around doubling the number of nurses in town. Now we're on a mission to correct the physician shortage. And we tackled graduate medical education, which are physician residencies. When we started that initiative back in 2014, there were 3 hospitals that had residency programs. Today, 15. And so with that, we have 2 new medical schools growing here in Las Vegas. Another one, Toro University, expanded their program to 181 students. So UNLV just is getting ready to enroll their 4th class, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. And then we've got Roseman University that's hopefully going to open up here in another 2 years. So we went from no medical schools to 3 medical schools, 3 hospital-based residency programs to 15. So we're tackling this thing every single day, and we could visibly watch the rankings of healthcare in Las Vegas get better. And it's a good thing. It's an innovative city, and we're doing good things.
One of the things that I really love the most is the diversity of who you have, one on the board, but who's going to the events and where you're holding them at, and just seeing it grow. You know, like, what does Heels look like to you from 10 years from now?
So, today we represent groups that employ about 34,000 healthcare professionals. We probably could double in size in the next 10 years. And a lot of that's going to be due to the growth, because as we bring on academic medicine with these medical schools and this residency, these new graduating doctors, these new practicing doctors are going to need a place to practice. So they're going to open up shop, and then they're going to hire more nurses, and they're going to hire more physical therapies, PT, speech, what have you. So it's going to continue growing, so we've got room to double. And what does that mean? It's just bringing the community together to realize the good that's going on in town. The growth of sports medicine is really on the rise right now with the Raiders coming into town, the Vegas Golden Knights. Good God, first year Stanley Cup. How about that? That's amazing, and the playoffs. So with that happening, you're seeing the growth of sports medicine. Now we're on a journey to really build research and development. So UNLV just got ranked as a Carnegie Tier 1 university, which means that their growth in research is going to be amazing. Couple that with the medical school, just good stuff is happening here.
Yeah, I see it. I'm just being there and being with you guys. It's been amazing, especially to see it grow.
You know what? And I think what's happening is everybody's realizing healthcare it's a team sport. Yeah. It's not just a hospital. It's not just the doctors. It's not just the payer systems. It's everybody, from the Chamber of Commerce and the entire business community to the LVCVA, which is attracting people to come into town. Everybody's involved, and there's not anybody out there that wants bad healthcare. We all want better healthcare. So everybody's rolling up their sleeves going, what can I do to help? And it's amazing to watch our community come together, as it always does.
As we continue to grow in this community with everything coming in, from the excitement to sports, Derek's a big Knights fan. He's a ticket holder as well. But your academic partnerships, you've spoken to the growth of these schools. How have they been as far as being receptive to partnering up with you? And how have those initiatives been to get the students as well as faculty and the support and administrators involved in our efforts?
Yeah, it's amazing. One of our first initiatives at Las Vegas Heals was to double the nursing program. So we did a study back in 2002 and discovered we needed 800 nurses a year, and we were graduating 332. Doesn't require a math or a calculator to realize that's not good. So we lobbied to double the nursing program. We doubled that. Now all of a sudden in 2010 we did another study, and we had almost tripled the number of nurses here in town. So we graduated a little bit over 1,000. Well, all these nurses coming out, they need academic rotations, they need clinical rotations, they need to do preceptorship programs. And so that's happening. And now, again, with all the medical schools, you have doctors that are in third year classes working with residents and working with fellows. So it's creating, I don't want to dumbify it, but a community of, but why? But why? Like when you have little kids. And so what does that do in the healthcare environment? So when you go into a practice, you've got a doctor that comes walking in, bringing a resident. And the last thing that doctor wants to do is teach a bad practice. So we're all getting better exams, we're getting better healthcare, and it's creating this community, but why? And so the younger generation, they're educating up to some of our older physicians, and our older physicians are educating down. And so you're finding this great middle, and it's creating a community that we've not seen before. Academic medicine didn't exist here until a couple years ago, and it's here, and it's only going to grow.
You know, it's funny to say that. So my friend of mine, Vu, his son is first year medical school at UNLV, and a couple of doctors are allowing him to shadow them at UMC, like as they're doing rounds. And he's only a first year student, but I think that's a great way to keep students engaged in being a doctor, because a lot of time, a lot of effort, and taking care of people is.
What's cool too is, so when we started this journey about expanding residencies, it was tough to get it up and off the ground. And people said, well, we just don't value healthcare and education here in Las Vegas. And that's wrong. It's just not true. And so now that this thing's growing, what we have that no other city in the United States has is a clean campus.
Yeah.
We're not a Philadelphia, a Baltimore, a Pittsburgh that has to look at these institutions that it's legacy systems. Well, this is the way that we've been teaching doctors for 15, well, it's not even 15 years, 100 plus years. We have this clean campus. So our curriculum over at UNLV is just cutting edge.
Yeah.
All of these students are coming through. The first class, we fully scholarshiped. Second class, about half of them got a scholarship. And these kids, they before they even start medical school, they're an EMT trained. So they're touching patients. They're experiencing healthcare the day that they start class, which is just super cool. I sit on the board for the School of Medicine. And so last night we had one of our board meetings, and we're on a search for a new dean, which is a great place to be because we're taking this to the next level. But we're looking at the past three classes and the diversity that lives within those classes, and the fact that most of these kids born and raised in Las Vegas, some of these kids first-time college students, first in their families.
Yeah.
And this class, they look like the community of which they serve, which is cool because you go to other markets and it's dominant one area over another,
Right.
and we've got an opportunity to change that. So it's a great place to be right now.
Man, I love all the efforts in higher education, especially when it deals with healthcare. I was a first-generation college student, and just having that kind of support from above and from the community, you can't replace that, and that's just something, obviously, for UNLV and the schools here in this area, the Toros, the Rosemans to come. That's something that'll help them in not only recruiting a great student, but also keeping those students here at home. And really raising their own soldiers through our school system. And ultimately in the long-term play, I do, want to speak into that. I believe that we will continue to grow our students through, Las Vegas, through Clark County, and produce great doctors that'll eventually stay. It'll be fun to watch as we continue to move forward.
Yeah, we've got a workforce task force, and this group is so dedicated. They meet every month, and that's what they focus on is how do we get hold of these kids K to 12? How do we get them thinking about healthcare in grade school and middle school and high school? How do we get them shadowing doctors, shadowing nurses, and then how do we get them pipelined into our systems? And just as healthcare is a team sport, so is education. So we've got CSN, which graduates more nurses than anybody else in town. You've got Nevada State, which they came out of the ground. That came out in 2003. And they're training a big bucket of nurses and all the allied health professionals. So we're growing these kids up. And you know what? When they go to school here and they learn here, they stay here.
Yep.
So it stops that brain drain that Las Vegas was experiencing for a couple decades.
Well, also I believe that for these students, not only the experience they'll get, like you said with Vu's, did you say it was Vu's son?
Yeah, Vu's son, Ken.
Yeah, with his partnership to be able to go out and work with these doctors, it goes a step beyond too. It's that mentorship that exists now as well. Yep. So they're building that relationship, they're getting that hands-on experience, but also they're having a mentor embedded in the community that can show them what it's like to serve this community, to go home and contribute in all areas. Yep. And I think that is hard to replace as well. Those mentorships are super important, especially in the healthcare industry.
Yeah, it's everybody pays it forward in healthcare. It's all about passing it on to the next generation, and it's just amazing to watch where we are now compared to just 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I went and saw my doctor the other day, and she came in and she brought a resident, and it was the best exam that I had ever received. And I walked out of there just feeling good, going, oh my gosh, here's this student that's got an opportunity to follow a doctor. And here I am, a patient, somebody that lives here, and I'm getting better care now than I was a couple years ago. But it was the same doctor because it's that academic medicine approach.
And I'd say listeners too, whenever you have an opportunity, and again, just my opinion, but if you're in a hospital setting or a doctor's office and a student is available to support you, please give them a shot. I know when Jane was going through the pregnancy, we were at Centennial Hills, and our doctor at the time had a student from Toro, and he would come in. I feel like he was always a little hesitant. Is it okay if I see you? Of course, come in. Every now and then something had to be adjusted from the doctor's perspective, but honestly, it was a great experience to feel as if, our real life experiences were supporting him and learning so that he's prepared to give a better service moving forward.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting time, and it's I've made so many promises never to repeat this joke again, but here I am, I'm going to repeat it because it doesn't exist anymore. And so when I moved here 26 years ago, the running joke was, where do you go for healthcare? And it was McCarran Airport. And
yeah, I never heard that one.
Sadly, 26 years ago, there was a little bit of truth to that. The healthcare system wasn't as strong as it is today, but I could tell you now, man, you could get the best quality healthcare right here in Las Vegas. We've got amazing doctors. It's just, it's getting in front of them. And so, we 10 years ago, we said we have to put an end to that joke because it's perception being carried forward. And again, I'll call out some of our amazing institutions that are here. A lot of people don't realize we've got a Cleveland Clinic here in Las Vegas doing brain research. And they have some of the best Alzheimer's researchers down there in the entire world. Then you've got the folks over at Comprehensive Cancer Centers. They've got 160 to 170 clinical trials going on every year, where over 3,000 patients are flying in from all around the world to receive health care here that they can't get in their hometown.
That wouldn't have been the case 20 years ago.
No. It's just, you look at where it is, and, I have to admit, I was a medical tourist back when I first moved here because I battle a disease we didn't have experts here in town. Today, I don't have to travel. And how great is that to not have to fly 5 hours to the East Coast, and now I could drive 5 minutes down the street.
That's amazing.
Today is so I think a lot of it starts at home. So my daughter, Michaela, whose 14th birthday is today, so happy birthday. She's been saying since she was a little kid she wants to be a doctor, and straight A student, and I think the encouragement stays with the parent, always encouraging the children, right? Not just sports. We need great scientists, right? A lot of people want to be professional athletes. I think, the scientists, really are the heroes and people that are solving the diseases. But I encourage Michaela every day to be that doctor, And
I want to give a shout out to our school district too. So our Clark County School District, these guys got out ahead of it, and they're doing it right. They created these career and technical academies, which they identify kids at an early stage. If they're really embracing STEM and the sciences and the maths, they go, hey, you ought to think about healthcare. Yeah. And they steer them into these programs, and these kids are graduating high school, many of them with a degree already.
Wow.
A college degree to become a CNA. And so they're already heading towards healthcare. Now all of a sudden they come out and they go, hey, I could go to work, I could be a CNA, and then I could climb up the ladder and go to school to become a registered nurse. And if they don't like that, they could pivot and stay on that career lattice and jump from maybe a clinical role over to a research role or a science role. And so it's our school district and our higher education, they're really forming good partnerships to make sure that our healthcare community grows.
What's nice, it's not just the Gormans, it's Spring Valley. It's lots of not just the higher end privileged schools, but it's the middle of the range road schools too. So
yep, absolutely. It's I've got a 10-year-old at home, and she wants to get into medicine, but she wants to get into animal medicine. And I keep trying to edge her, going, get into the human side, get into the human side. But, maybe she finds that pathway along the way. But you know what? We need to take care of our furry friends as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's great that her passion started there, though. You just never know. I love that you continuously speak into partnerships because we find in this valley, and We see Doug everywhere, for the listeners. We're at the Metro Chamber. There's Doug. We see him at community outreach events, fundraising events. And that goes to show you, we consistently see the same people in this town putting forth those efforts in every aspect of what we have to offer here in Las Vegas. It really is helping us to become that world-class city that we're pitching. And so listeners, if you haven't been here, please join us. Come check us out. There's a lot to offer that's right past not only at the Strip, but everything else that has to do with this town. And to those partnerships, Doug, you're bringing in, folks from all over. Derek and I, we don't have any sort of, prior experience in healthcare. And of course, Derek partnering up. Derek, you sit on the board of directors for HEALS. How did you become a part of this organization, and where did you find, the value and inspiration to really contribute to this area of Las Vegas?
Well, for just going to the events, being a part of Doug, just seeing the passion. Doug didn't really have a background in healthcare, but passion and, having children, having a daughter that wants to be a doctor. How can I support, but how can I give back to a community that's given me so much, right? So if I could partner up and help out with healthcare or education or give back, or we're doing, American Lung Association Scale to Strat. I love doing that one. And we were talking about that earlier. Doug has done it for many of years, and he's probably maybe climbing with us this year.
All right. I will be climbing with you. And I want to give a shout out to you guys too, because just as we're growing our own healthcare community here, we've got a gap that we still need to fill. So we spent a great deal of our time recruiting healthcare professionals to move here. And when they come to move here, the best way to get them anchored into the community is home ownership. That's the first thing that we need to do. And what you guys are doing for our members and waiving some of these fees up front makes that barrier to entry just so much easier. And frankly, that helps our employer community. That is just like giving them a sign-on bonus, but they're not writing the check because you guys are so generous and gracious with what you're doing. That makes our job that much easier. I'll tell you, I'm going to be at a conference here in about 3 weeks, the Anti-Aging Association of America. 6,000 attendees, 70% of which are physicians. And we sit out there with like a open door saying, hey, we need you to come relocate here, expand your practice to Las Vegas. And now one of our pitches is, we'll even help you find a house. Yeah. We'll even help you with your mortgage. And that's because of the kindness that you guys have extended. So thank you very much for that.
Derek spearheaded that program. Yeah. You have been a instrumental part of what we're doing with Affinity and healthcare, so it's exciting to watch.
It's all driven from the community. This community has been. I grew up in the East Coast, but this is where my heart's at. I love being here, and I love being a part of the community. But get to serve on the side of people like you and all the great doctors. And it's funny, so Dr. Resch was on TV the other day, like all their commercials, and just seeing them in public at the hockey games, and just knowing them by not that I have a heart problem, but a cardiologist, just to see him out and have a conversation with him. It's been fun. It's been a great experience for me. This being a part of this community and seeing so many great people that just want to give back. You're right, since 9/11, because I was here at that time, but also that 1 October.
Oh, dude. You know what? If there were a single moment that changed that horrible joke that I shared before, it was October 1st. Because the world saw what an amazing healthcare delivery system we have. Our trauma delivery system, this is just an amazing thing. Everybody that showed up at a hospital with a heartbeat left that hospital with a heartbeat. Yeah. Our system came together like you've never seen. Our community came together. The lines that were down the street to donate blood. Yep. Everybody, I was traveling the night before. I got a call that morning from my mother going, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" She goes, "You aren't watching the news?" And I turned on the TV and I was speechless. I picked up the phone. I called our sheriff, Joe Lombardo, and I said, "Joe, what can I do to help?" He goes, "Doug, we're going to need more doctors. This is a bloodbath. This is horrible." So I got on the phone, called the governor's office, and I said, "Hey, is there any way we could get an expedited licensure bill placed? We need to get this thing done. We need an executive order." And the governor's office had it done before noon.
Wow.
Yeah. Before noon. That's how quick this community came together. This is the better part. We didn't need that. Our own physician community came together and saved all of those lives and did what was needed. And we didn't need to bring in one physician from out of market, but we were prepared should we need to.
That was very inspiring times. When one of our clients was a victim during 1 October, and it was very tough to talk to her father after. But it was inspiring just to see how this community did come together. People just going down there and putting people in their trucks and taking them to the hospitals, and just to see the doctors on the news and the people going down to the hospitals bringing food, and this community is so amazing. It touches you in so many places, and for me it was such a heartfelt moment when you just seen how great this community is. It's not a community built on gambling. It's a community of human beings loving on one another. And that compassion that day is, I think, one of the biggest reasons why I love being a part of Hills.
I want to share another story, and this is another community partnership. So our interim dean for the medical school, Dr. John Filed, so he was the man that led the charge down at UMC that night. He's the trauma surgeon. He's the head of the trauma department. And just what a champion. A couple weeks back, I was out at Nellis Air Force Base, and I was meeting with Colonel Flowers out there and just talking. And he shared something with me. He said, what a lot of people don't realize, a good part of the doctors that were out on the floor of UMC that day were from Nellis Air Force Base. Their surgeons got the call. They rolled up their sleeves. They drove down to UMC. They suited up with the UMC doctors, the trauma team, and nobody knew if it was a UMC surgeon or whether it was a Nellis Air Force Base surgeon. So our Air Force stepped it up and helped save the day. That's just, you hear those community partnerships.
Wow.
No other community has that in the United States.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. That's incredible.
No, this is a community, compassion. It just goes like doctors that love what they do and they want to save people's lives. Sometimes, you always hear horror stories about going to a doctor and the waits, but honestly, doctors want to help. They're really compassionate. They want to help. They want to be there, and that's just a testament of what we have in this state. That's why you should live here. That's why if you're thinking about moving or considering, this is a great place to be. It's a great community, and we're growing.
I'll tell you from the young professional standpoint too, if you're a young professional out there, if you're in college, students looking to become a young professional, come to this area. We have so much to offer. The mentorships are strong. This community sticks together. It's a testament to what you hear today, regardless of the industry. Obviously for healthcare, all my friends in Middle Tennessee, if you're considering, we have a great nursing school there, come out, see us, come be a part of what we're up to. Because, our ship is sailing here. Like, we are continuously growing, and this is an amazing place to be a part of right now. It is a great place for growth, and I love seeing the industries coming in. It's a lot of fun, man. It's been great.
141,000 people moved here last year.
Ooh.
Get your arms wrapped around that number. It's you were here during the heyday. We were the fastest growing city for 20 consecutive years, and then we hit that little speed bump called the recession. But we're back at 141,000 people. That's a massive amount. And what's causing it is the diversification too. It's not just gaming jobs. It's construction, it's engineering, it's technology, it's warehousing, it's logistics, it's everything that's going on out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
when we had the recession, and I talk about this a lot, we were built, people they still talk about, the housing market's going to crash. We're not built on that recession. We're not built on housing. People don't understand it. There's no more stated loans. There's no more bad loans. You can't come into my office and get 5 loans for 5 different investment properties or have 5 primary residents done in 1 month. It's unheard of. Yep. So you have to have the ability to repay back a mortgage. You have to pay. So that bubble where our increase maybe by 2, 3, 4%. You're not seeing dramatic increase like we were here, Doug. We've seen 20, 25, 30%. You buy a house, right? New construction, base price, 3 months later it's worth $80,000 more because of the demand. So it's much different now. So when I hear the recession, I just don't, it's lack of education, right? So we do stuff just like this to educate. Like Doug said, he did not background is healthcare, but you see the knowledge. He surrounds himself with the people that help build this community the way it is. And I'm so grateful that, 1, we're friends, but 2, like what you're doing in the community You're just an amazing. You inspire me.
Thank you. It's a community.
Yeah.
You know, it's I've never lived in a place that cares so much. Everybody here, no matter what it is, again, go back to September 11th. What happened then? Go to October 1. What happened then? This community comes together and they reinvent themselves too.
Yeah.
You know, we sit down, we go, how do we get better every single day? I was just in this building a week and a half ago at the LVGEA, who was holding what's called a SEDS planning committee. It's an educational development or an economic development strategic plan. And every 2 years, they're like, how do we get better? How do we get better? And you don't find that in other communities. Everybody's happy with what they've got. This community wants to continue to grow and be the best.
Yes, lots of like LVGEAs, lots of Metro Chamber or Henderson Chamber. Or there's all great organizations that want to see this place do better.
Yep.
Just want to see, doctors and jobs and creation. So that's awesome. But I have to shift for 1 second. I get a lot, every time we were in the picture together, you are not Dan Marino. Can we clarify that?
So I like to tell this story too.
I was going to ask you to tell the story.
So, God, I'm a life of stories. So I'm a Pittsburgh guy. And Danny was our quarterback for Pitt.
Yeah.
And I worked at a little Jewish grocery store growing up called the Food Gallery up on Bower Hill Road. And it was his mother-in-law would come in every Saturday, and she'd stop and do this double take. She's like, oh my gosh, you look so much like my Danny. Yeah. And so I've been hearing that my entire life, and I guess there are uglier people that I could look like.
I thought it was Dan Marino the first time I saw him. You just never know.
Yeah. So I when we had a picture together, and my cousin is a huge Dolphins fan, so he asked me. I'm like, no, it's my friend Doug. So just
I'm a Pittsburgh Steeler fan through and through. But growing up, I was also a Miami Dolphins fan. And it was first because I went to school with Delvin Williams' kid, if you remember the Bob Greasy, Delvin Williams days. And then when Danny went off to play for Miami, I'm like, well, I'm kind of stuck there now. And so I rooted for Miami until Danny retired. And it's what a shame. One of the best quarterbacks in the world that never got a ring.
I know. Luckily, we're not going to measure his success there because he is one of the greatest for sure.
He was.
Gosh, well, I tell you guys, Doug, I can sit here and listen to you speak all day, man. This has been, first of all, thank you for coming to join us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course, it's been great, and it's really, like Derek said, it's a pleasure, and you do inspire us to be better leaders here, and I look forward to seeing how much more we can do together. I can't wait to find out how we impact this community. But guys, living large, Las Vegas, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're ready to be a part of this community, or if you're in this community and you just want to stand out and get into service, reach out to us. Derek, what's our number?
702-331-8185.
And feel free to reach out to Doug. Doug, how do they get in touch with you?
Go to LasVegasHeals.org.
All right, guys, check it out, LasVegasHeals.org. And we will be coming back at you with some more phenomenal community leaders here in the coming weeks.